The question is now, are we safer than we were a year ago? Yes. A year ago, were we safer then than a year prior to that? Yes. And so on and so forth. I can say that security has gotten better incrementally over time and will continue to get better. And so I can make that representation to you. Are we 100% risk-free? No. Can we guarantee that no one will ever be injured by a lone wolf or a gang or a terrorist? No, the risks are too many and the avenues for attack are too great to make that representation. What we can do is work intelligently and committedly to reduce risk, to mitigate the effects of risk, and to be able to respond with resiliency should a risk materialize.
Hazel Denton. My question is, well, I'm very encouraged to hear that you're taking cyberspace so seriously. But when I think about the practical reality, cyberspace is a world where people earn huge salaries. How do you attract and keep really good hackers on your staff on government salaries?
Well, I like to say we pay psychic dollars. You know, public service is a calling to which many are attracted, and I think we're actually now in a very, very good period where young people in particular are answering that call for public service, and so we have no shortage there. And the plain fact of the matter is there are wonderful careers in public service to be had. Be it in the cyber world or in any of the other kinds of areas where you go home at night knowing that you spent your day helping to protect the American people. And so we just go from that standpoint. But that, like I said, that call to public service is one that's very appealing, particularly now, particularly given this president and the values that he embodies.
I've had the gentleman way back there, and then we'll go over here. Oh.
Thank you. My name's Ken Bacon. First, I want to thank you for your remarks. And second, I want to thank you for taking over such a complex, important department. My question is not about cybersecurity, it's about border security. I wonder if you could talk some about what's happening now between the U.S. and Mexico and what progress you see being made or how it's going to be made. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Yes, Mexico has been involved in a very violent drug war over the last 2 years, involving very large drug cartels that have existed for a long period of time. But what has happened is that the Calderon administration in Mexico, I think, decided enough is enough, and they've really been going at the cartels in a way we really haven't seen before. And that pressure from the federal government level in Mexico has forced the cartels to do some more fighting between themselves as they fight over diminished land routes of bringing drugs into the United States, for example. And that in turn has resulted in an amazing increase in violence within particularly the 6 states of northern Mexico. Last year they had well over almost 6,000 drug-related homicides in Mexico. 557 of those were assassinations of law enforcement or public officials. In fact, not a lot of people are aware of that aspect of it. So we are helping in a number of ways. We want to help in this battle. The Merida Initiative is an initiative that provides funding for law enforcement training and equipping in Mexico, and that is presided over by the Department of State. At the Department of Homeland Security, we have deployed a lot of resources to the Mexican border, manpower, but also technology, things like scanners, license plate readers, and we've also sent we've increased a number of dog teams. Dogs now are trained not just to sniff drugs, but they can also sniff guns, and they can sniff bulk cash, because we are now for the first time inspecting southbound vehicles, and because that's the fuel that the cartels use. Just this week I was privileged to sign a letter of intent with the Minister of Finance Mexico that will, among other things, enable us to work even more closely on related crimes such as money laundering. So it's a very, very committed effort that's happening in a lot of different areas, but that should give you a sampling of what's occurring.
Over here and then over there.
I'm Janice Trey. The Global Internet Consortium, formed by American citizens, is the #1 service providers to unblock, to provide uncensored information in and out of the repressive regime. So maybe that's something that Homeland Security could consider, utilize the expertise. And you mentioned about freedoms. Could you elaborate a bit more? Because in the interconnected worlds, if we put more efforts to bring democracies and freedom to other countries, we'll probably ensure security at home.
Well, I think so, and I think a very current example of that is what is happening in Iran, and the effort to cut off internet access and blogging and all the rest, because it is such an effective way for people to communicate with one another. It is a way to foster freedom of speech that perhaps wasn't available in years gone by. They didn't have it, for example, during the period of the Velvet Revolution, just 2 decades ago. And so this technology change now has a lot of ramifications for the democratization with a small d of countries around the world.
This will be the last question. Right. Thank you.
Jim Robinson. From my studies, Russia has one of the highest groups of hackers for crime. What cooperation are you getting from Russia? And it's in their interest because they can also hack into Mr. Putin.
I think it's fair to say, and it's open source reporting to say that there's been a fair amount of hacking activity from Russia. Beyond that, let me not tonight describe particularly efforts with respect to any country's government, except to say, and to go to the point I made earlier, which is that international cooperation where cyber is concerned is at its very infant stages. And one of the things I think we will need to work on as a country, and many of the countries whose ambassadors are represented in this room this evening will need to focus upon are what really does from an international protocol or agreement standpoint where cyber is concerned, given that you are dealing with something that doesn't respect nation-state boundaries. How do you put that sort of structure together? But it is, as you suggest, something where everyone has a stake, and we all have a stake in the freedom of the internet, but we also have a stake in the security of the networks that are embodied in it. Thank you all very much.